So it's been 12 years since you came back, and as you said, you've kept your music. Your music keeps evolving over the years.
Yeah.
But what would you say has changed within the band?
The others write a lot more now. In the beginning of Europe, I was interested in writing songs. When I was 8 or 9 years old, my father's friend taught me some guitar chords. And there was a piano at home. My sister was supposed to learn to play piano, and she had a guitar as well, which I broke, obviously. I had to give her a new guitar about 10 years ago. So I learned, my parents didn't know, I just learned it. I lost my track of, what was it?
What has changed within the band since you started?
See? I went on crazy shit about my family. Yeah, there you go. The writing process has changed. I was so interested in writing songs back then that I did all of the writing, mostly the writing. These days, I get inspiration from Mick Michaela. He sends me an idea, or John Norum or John Levin, the bass player. He sent me the riff for War of Kings, the bass player. And I'm like, this is amazing. And I start working on it. I'm putting the things together now. I get ideas from all of the guys in the band, and I finish it with melody and patch it together, and this is it. So it's a different way. So that has changed. The music business has changed, obviously, we know that. We work our Facebook and our social media quite hard. We try to do that. And live performances have become more important. But I think videos are still important. We just finished the War of Kings video. It's amazing. We're really pleased with it. It's the same guy who did Firebox and Not Supposed to Sing the Blues and Last Vida. Patrick, he's amazing. And I think still it's important to show people that you're worth paying money to come and see. You need to show that you still know what you're doing and you're good at what you're doing. Yeah, but that's a very emotional song. It was written the night Jack Bruce died, and it sort of came into the lyrics a bit, and a very, very emotional track. Other than that, everybody wrote together and living in the moment. 2 weeks of intense ideas floating around the studio. We used more keyboards, we used Hammond organ, we used Mellotron keyboard to make it a vibey record, something different, something majestic, you know? That's the idea anyway. That answer your question?
Yes, you did.
I talk too much.
Wait for the mic.
Oh yeah, you need to have the mic so we can hear you. Oh yeah, that's good.
So hi, I'm Tassinka, and I'd like to know you spoke about Dave Cobb, and can you tell me more about his production, because it sounds so amazing, so awesome.
Yeah, he wants to find an atmosphere. He wants to find a vibe from old equipment and old keyboards together with a new studio, and he records drums and guitars and bass the right way. We discovered him listening to Rival Sons, a young American band, and we were mesmerized with the drum sound on Pressure and Time. That's how it started. In fact, can you record drums like that still? Who does that? We were like, this is amazing. A few years later, the last album came in, and we heard Electric Man, and we heard Open My Eyes from Rival Sons album, and this guy is still amazing. Can we call this producer? So we told our manager to call him. And we didn't expect much. We thought he'd probably say, I had never heard of Europe, I don't care. But he said, I used to play drums to Europe when I was a young kid, and I'd love to produce Europe. So it was amazing. So now we were faced with a new producer, a new adventure, taking chances, and he also wanted to be part of the process, he told us before. He wanted to be in the studio with us with the guitar, and it was so different, everything. And he was very creative, and he helped.
Was a tremendous resume, well engineering, the strays, etc., Rival Sons too? Or does it come more from the fact that, as you said, everybody wrote?
Yeah.
Everyone from the band wrote.
It's a combination of things, but in the studio, there is not so much room for nostalgia. I think in the live show, nostalgia is important, but in the studio you also need to think about moving forward from your last album, coming with new ideas, getting better at your instrument. So that's probably why we sound modern still as we have borrowed and carried the legacy of the old bands automatically in us, you know. We want to be fresh as well as carry the legend with us, you know. It's two things you have to think about. You can't be too retro, you can't just recreate the past. You have to move forward, so both things. But Dave Cobb is He's slightly younger than we are. He is he's a fearless producer. He has great ideas when it comes to effects and sounds that he has learned on his journey. I think he worked a lot with Brendan O'Brien when he was a young kid. I think he worked with a lot of great producers and learned a lot of stuff. He's very good musician and a very good producer. He has helped to make it current as well. Yeah, I mean he makes Rival Sons sounds like a fresh, vital band, but at the same time they're recording the drums with 3 mics. They record it warm. It's classic rock, but it feels fresh, and that's what you got here, you know.
Also, on the road.
Yeah, always on the road. Yeah. We like playing live. You know, it's great.
One thing I'm curious about,
Yeah.
A song that has been already mentioned, an old song. What do you think of all those political parties thinking that the Final Countdown is the ultimate political hymn?
It's kind of strange. I don't particularly like it. You know, it was written as a show opener for our show, and it was inspired by David Bowie's Space Oddity lyrically, you know, about space travel and leaving Earth when we have spent it, you know. It's kind of fun when they use that song for weddings, you know, because it's more like, it's kind of fun, but it was inspired by British rock bands as far as the music goes, the galloping tempo, and the lyrics was inspired, you know, as I said, by Space Oddity a little bit, and also my own fascination with space and travel, and you know, when I was a kid. So it's never was meant to use for politics or sports, but it is being used quite a lot. You know, it's nothing that it doesn't mean that much to us really.
It's extra royalties, I guess.
Yeah, some of it, but sometimes you see a political campaigner using it, you don't think it's a good idea. It happens, you know. Good albums. But the business has changed, and I'm not too fond of streaming. I would actually prefer if all releases had 3 months without streaming, so people can enjoy their albums, enjoy their CDs, and then maybe we can have streaming. But I mean, the business has changed, and everything is changing fast, and we want to adapt, and we do. We love working the social media in the band Europe, and we used to have a management in San Francisco that collected all the thousands of letters for Europe, and we couldn't go there and read them all. Now we put a post on Facebook and we see what people think and what they feel about music and what we're doing. It's amazing. So there are positive things about coming so close to fans to know what they're thinking and what they like and stuff. So you have to roll with it. You can't just sit there, I don't like the business now, I'm going to stop. A lot of bands a few years ago said we're not going to make any more albums, but they all have started making albums again. It is changing slightly, and people realize that albums are important. If you don't make new albums, people are going to automatically listen to your old stuff, and you won't progress, and it will be a nostalgia thing. So you always need to be pushing for new stuff. Videos and albums are still important. Somebody said rock is dead, but I think rock has been on vacation until the 2nd of March.
Gene Simmons said that. Gene Simmons said that.
Yeah, and I say it's just been on vacation. Yeah.
Thank you very much.